Hey, been about a few seconds for me, but I'm guessing it's been a while longer yet for you. We're in dense lands, folks. Pushing it around like it ain't dense. It's gonna collapse on itself, right? Wait, why is it always expanding? Didn't we say it would always expand? What is even the idea of a particle, Dimar? And that's why it's like quantum thermodynamics is going to get real rough with you. It takes a while to explain this. You're going to need to really get rid of your id and superego and even ego. Sorry, boys, gals, dudes, whatever. Get rid of them. Your notion of current views of science are kind of nil right now. You have to understand what we observe is something that is fake in a way. We're fairly fake in a way. In our way of observing. It's not fake. Particles are real. All that. Shh. No. Don't scream, yell. Don't get up in arms. Don't think it's the same type of fake that stupid quantum physicists believe, real blah 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 stuff. Whatever their garbage is. Get that out of here. Shoo. Get that stupid math out. Shoo. Brush it away. Get it out. Get out. You don't need me at all. In any way, to be here, I am the stupid physicist that proposed the idea of real and fake in this idea. Get rid of it. It's a concept that doesn't work here. It's bad math. Get rid of it. You have to remove it. And the reason why is because space is now very, very, very different than what you previously considered. Potential land is actually a little different. Yeah, I know. It's like it could be quantum vacuum pressure, right? Popping up of particles. It's not. Sorry. Should have explained that right off the bat. Those particles, the potential area, they're not popping up there. That's not the membrane. You gotta remember, small particles, I get it. Sounds really nice, but what is a particle? I have to explain that one to you. Yeah, it's not your fault. It's not gonna be. Sorry, it's just not. People explained particles stupidly because they didn't know how to explain it either. And I'm one such person, even to my own self in the past, and I really had to frickin' break down what the hell that means. I had to really get rid of my idea. What the hell is a particle? The frickety frack? What's a particle? The heck? It's a bunch of outward field thingies? What the fuck is that? They're like, it stops at quarks, though. Sure, that's just completely what that... What the fuck are you even... Do you even know what that is? Not really, no. We say fields, but we don't know what that is either. And I'm like, well, I finally described to you what fields are. I finally did. That's what a field is. A field is that stuff that wraps around and jiggles and spins. But what makes it wrap around and jiggle and spin? See what I'm saying? Ow. Yeah, what would that be? And we have an outward bound pressure. Where does outward bound pressure come from? It can't come from nothing. Nah, it really can't, can it? Right? Wait a second. Let's hold off on that thought for a second and think again. What is a particle? what does the definition of a particle mean, really, when you think about that? Because we're really looking at a bunch of jiggles and wiggles that are kind of stuck in place. How does that work? Why did they stick? Where they're bound like puzzle pieces? That's gravity now. Where are they going? Why are they doing that? Why did momentum start? Where does any of this do anything from anywhere? I'm not walking you to classical nothing, by the way. There are real answers I need to get you to understand that is, before we ever get to near the non-existent place. That's far from here. It's going to take time to understand this. I need you to stay with me. I love that I probably captured you in with all those voices and all the pomp and arrogance and attitude. You know what I'm saying? But it takes a lot to understand this part. And it's hard to explain. Because effectively it flies in the face of what they're going to try and say to you is what quantum physics should be. Because effectively it's a bunch of pressure in a substance that we have no fucking clue what it is. What the hell is potential? There's a membrane? What is this? The fuck is this? What's a membrane? What the hell? Why didn't it come over here? Why can't it do that? How did it even create space to begin with, or a membrane at all? What is anything at this point? What the fuck is going on? And that's why it's a little fake. Give it a second. Really try and conceptualize what the word fake means. It's trying to imitate something, but it doesn't do it so well that you think it is. So it's fake. That's why I say quantum vacuum pressure, well, it's still kind of a thing. It's fake. Imitates the idea of space, but it isn't. It's not. It's not space at all. There's no space there. It's as dense as anything could ever be, just the same as anything else. It just looks like it's a little spacious. It just looks. It's real fake about it, though. You know? It's not there. Not really. There's no space there. It's a little fake. You get it? Space is a bit fake. There's really, really large densities here. Exceptionally, exceedingly, terrifyingly dense. Seemingly. What the hell moves anything around to begin with? Why does it? Because we're talking now about why I started talking to you, why quantum thermodynamics, chaos theory mathematics, fluid dynamics, charges, pressure waves, oscillations in fluid environments, and chaos theory to predict with string theory dimensionality aspects for prediction analysis, neural network approaches were all necessary to get anywhere near this. And I can tell mathematicians just nope the fuck out of here. Because, everything I just heard you say makes me weep. With joy, yes, but also terror, because that's extraordinarily dense, hard, extremely fucking good, yes, math, but still advanced fucking mathematics. To put it in perspective, each one of them is in their own right a massive PhD field of science and studies that we still have yet to accomplish real solved solutions for. And that, my friend who is talking, I'm imagining, or maybe you're real out there somewhere, it's possible, is why you're gonna get real naughty in that brain space to know what the heck this is. I know. I'm not kidding. I'm not. You gotta get real wicked with it. You ever break down the word wicked? Let's go look it up on the Googs. The Gogies. Hey, yo, Gogies. Yo, go get a woogities. Tell me what the wicked means. Meaning, oh, you beasted. Guess it's not. It's not the first one. Evil and morally wrong. Now, let's break down what those two words mean. Evil and moral. Super ego is moral. You know what I mean? That's what they say. It's not evil, though. It's just morally superior. Now, it is evil or good. Not superior, not very moral, ethical. But it's pretty evil or good, right? Gonna have to get wicked with it. You're gonna have to make both of those motherfuckers shut up. I'm thinking. Because I mean it. You have to throw out stuff, man, for a long time with this one. And the reason why is because it's a bit weird. So, what does the idea of a membrane mean to anything and anyone here? It's a permeable surface. It's a whole thing, yeah. It's a surface with some sizes of holes. But there aren't holes, remember? It's as dense as anything could ever be, bro. So what is a membrane that doesn't have holes, but it definitely is a membrane? But no wonder why you said the membrane isn't really a membrane. Guy's working himself over. Good. You're getting there. That's it. You gotta think about it. Gotta do the bash out. Get out of here. Shoo all those conceptions that people lied to me about. Because it doesn't even make reasonable or logical sense to conclude that that's what it is. So, everything is super dense. How the fuck does anything spread out? And I'm like, well, alright, we're finally getting somewhere. We're finally getting somewhere. Someone asked a question I actually want asked. Finally. Good job, student. And I mean that because you want that. What does spread out mean? Yeah, there's space there, right? It means the reduction of energy for us. That's what that's going to mean. Sorry. Yeah. I'm not kidding. That's literally what the definition of our version of space existing means. It means stillness to the fields. It means not there. Wiggling, jiggling, or spinning, anything with pressure, vibration, oscillations. Or moving based upon this idea of attraction or repulsion. That's why I said you gotta throw it out, babies. They're lying. It's the absence of this that makes space. That is how that works. For us. So now we're getting closer to why membrane exists and particles, what they could be. Because we started that and then we didn't really get to it. And I'm working you there. I'm building up the foundations for you to have the boom moment. Oh my god, I just realized something. Eureka! Okay? Alright. And I try to be entertaining. This is a presentation, sure, I guess, but not really. If you really think about it. I'm really just telling you what the fuck is. Presentation? I just know. Doesn't that suck? I just figured it out by thinking. I didn't have to do any of that work. Doesn't that fucking make you angry? Not really, probably, because you can do it yourself. See what I'm saying? And it's not to be, I'm better than you. It's to be, ooh, watch it. Watch out. A lot of people around you aren't so good. Which I started off in the first one there. Remember? They're not good people. They are a bunch of assholes that are trying to prevent you from realizing stuff. That have a lot of ego, a lot of reason and incentive to dissuade you from learning and thinking for yourself. So, back at it. How does a membrane become a membrane? And it obviously has to let things through. Fields don't just become a thing without something pushing and pulling and attracting and repulsing. You know what I'm saying? Which are two different things, by the way. Push and pull, similar sentences, you would use them. You push something, you pull them. But isn't that the same as a synonym? Which, I get it, I said it wrong. Go with it. To attract and repulse, isn't it? One has more squish, one has more impact. One has more spring, and the other has more yank. Similar, yeah. That's why they call them synonyms. Doing it wrong intentionally on that one. The other one was a flub. That's kind of what that is. But there's a reason why I called it that. Repulsive. What does that word mean to you? When you look at someone that is repulsive. There's a lot of characteristics, doesn't it? You know what I mean? What does repulsive really mean to us? Personality, looks, genitalia, political beliefs, smell, height, weight, shape. Again, it's going to be a difference to just weight and all that, unfortunately, because that's proportions. Yeah, I know, Ferbs. Slow down. Crazy. That's a lot of stuff for us to freaking think about. Isn't it, just, you know? It's a lot. And who they hang out with. What they think is acceptable. All this stuff. That's repulsive. Ew, icky, give me away. It's a lot more than we thought. That repulses us. A lot. And same thing with attractive. Isn't it? Oh, yeah. Gimme. Alright, Ferbs? Oh, I know. You want to come up here and get scratched again. So it's like, alright. We're getting at membranes. So it's a neutral foam zone. We're like, okay. So, what we perceive to be charge, electromagnetic, gravity, and strong nuclear forces are literally just what I just described. Oscillations that attract and repulse, that create their own version of a wall, a claw, or a drop and combine, stick together chain link. And while we don't yet know, because I haven't gotten to it, why the hell it does any of that, now you need to understand why physics, in the quantum sense, makes no fucking sense. You'd never observed something like that. First off, how the fuck would you? You have to break it down logically. You have to break it down reasonably. You can't make a fucking apparati to smack itself correctly to see the density. How is it going to do that? Even indirectly. Those fields, you won't know that that's what that is. That's a that zone. It's turbulent, and I don't like it. I don't think that that's gonna do me any favor looking at that. I'm gonna ignore that. Because we're a bunch of laminearistic oscillating resonant frequency stuff. Incredibly dense shit. See what I'm saying? So, to understand why it is fields for us are not quite what we once thought, and why particles and membranes here aren't quite what we once maybe perceived them to be, you must understand what the idea of anything moving is first. We must now describe momentum. How does an ultra-dense thing move? How the hell would that work? Why would it even do it? Where's the energy going into? What is that? Because remember, I talked about it. The energy, the absence, the removal. The distraction is not there, but the energy does go somewhere, doesn't it? Sure does. Can't not go nowhere. Creates this idea, the envision of space. Certainly isn't there. It's not. It never will be. Not with us. Not in our place. How do you move through it? And then we get to particles. Yeah. You're a suck force of all suck force, huh? See what I'm saying? It's the opposite of what you thought. It might have been coming out of my mouth later. Ain't no outward bound pressure. Get out of here, honey. Snap, snap, get out. To really rage bait you. So that way you can actually think and get rid of your idea that you're right all the time. And finally break down that stupid id and go into the hole. 'Cause you are a hole. Get it? Finally. Someone shut up that should have been shutting up for a while, I bet. So, the whole is not necessarily as holy as you might have thought. Puns, right? But we're not expanding inward towards ourselves at all times, are we? That would be weird. And you're right. We're not doing that. But I know. Cool concept, honestly. Almost gotcha. I honestly played with that for a long time. You have no idea. It's so trippy to think about. Sorry. Yeah, it's very weird. If you ever break that down mathematically and try and look at it on a screen, it gets real trippy. You really freak out for a while. But that's not what we're doing. And then again, those aren't really particles. It's wait, what? Sorry, not particles. Yeah, I know. Feels cool, but it's not a particle. I trusted you. I'm like, yeah, and you ran off, and you probably thought something about like, oh, we're all recursive bullshit. Don't worry, been there, done that. Come back. Went through it for a while. I really tried to make that work for a real long time. It's real loopy fractal stuff. Doesn't really quite work. Yeah, I know. Kind of rough, right? It's hard to understand why it's like you got a hole there. And I'm like, you know, in a certain sense, yes. In a certain sense, no. I'm gonna have to walk you to it just like every other time. It takes a long time to freaking think about this stuff. It took me a long, long time. I'm not kidding. Well, I'm giving it to you. Free of charge, baby. Oh yeah. It took a long time. I'm talking months. Months and months. You know, it took a while. So, these holes, what are they really? Because they're not holes. And it's like, they're not actually at all. What? They're not. They're not tubes either, unfortunately. I know we like the idea of tubes, but it's not tubes. Went with tubes for a long time too. Tubes make it's so much easier to imagine for some people, even for myself for a while, but unfortunately tubes don't really work very well. Tubes have to go somewhere. Otherwise you're just a big old roundy donut in a weird way. And you're not. Because then all you really ever experience is the inside of the tube. And it's clearly not the case. You never really get very far with tubes. Because then what are the tubes in densities terms? What created the tubes? How did the pressure of the tubes be exerted to keep them around? Why is it that they spin? Why is it any of this is even a thing? Why go with tube? Tube doesn't make sense. You basically want a bunch of black holes. And I just described how black holes aren't what you thought. You're working with old garbage. Throw it out. Tubes are gone, unfortunately. It's still just as dense if you have a tube. It has nowhere for itself to go. Yeah, this one's going to be a rough one. Like I said, to walk you to it. You're not fractaling any patterns around, and there's certainly no recursive garbage. And the tubes don't break themselves apart into tiny little bits, because guess what? It's still very, very dense there. Frequencies are not what you once believed, and neither are any of your fields. Particles, we finally got to it. And these dummy-dumbs want to keep arguing the defensive bullshit. So, let's get into why it is there's the idea of something that is actually an absence of something. You see, we are the opposite, remember, of what we are coming from. It's ultra stupid uber dense the other way, on the other side of the membrane. Stupid, hardcore dense. Big, 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 big. Way larger than us. In all the ways and directions. Dimensions and more. You have to remember that part that I talked about earlier. So it's like, how the hell does this work? What the heck are you trying to tell me? And I'm like, so you got holes, huh? And I'm like, conversions. What? Yeah, sorry, dude. They're not necessarily holes. They're not black holes. They're not deletion holes. They're firing off into something else. But they don't really necessarily do that, do they? They can't really do that, huh? There really isn't another place for them to go, right? Do you get it? I'm not walking you to the edge of a cliff anymore. You have to understand the idea of absence now. That creates momentum. Because I thought we were converting. And it's like, absence is a conversion of something, which creates momentum, which creates your movement, oscillations, and more. Fraying, if you will, that breaks itself into something else. Just like any really, 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 really pulled thin fabric that's moving real fast in the wind. Doesn't matter how great the material is. If you jiggle it and you oscillate it and you do all this cool bullshit, the material creates a resonance pattern on its surface. But in tiny, itty bitty, teeny weeny places, what occurs? An overexcitation of resonant frequency? I know. Feels great to think about like that, but no. We're converting, remember? And while the idea is to, in every way, get you to see, in layman's terms, that is not accurate because you're not conceptualizing it in a third dimensional or multi-dimensional aspect. It is to give yourself, finally, the fighting chance of removing your bullshit wicked ways. Remove your id and superego and ego Renounce your belief of what you once knew. I know I get very spiritual and religious with it, but apparently those are the words that you like to use often. There's no attractive forces. There's no repulsive forces. There's no real forces there. It's not a field because fields can't do that. So what is a particle? How does something convert? How did momentum start? What punched through and where is it going into? And did it punch through or is it really just expanding? Now we have to do logic and reasoning. I'm going to help you here. This takes a bit to understand. No worries. They're not very logical or reasonable, and often they swear up a storm about how much better they are and they know more. And they don't. So, to begin with, converting. What does convert mean? To take something and change it to something else. Using forces from something else to do it. But you can't do that really if you think about it. When we're talking about an ultra dense, practically illegal because it's infinity kind of substance that we're in. Kind of weird, isn't it? But where does it go? How does it do any of that? That doesn't make any darn sense. Feels like, right? And so, the idea of spreading out and moving something, what does that mean to you? We usually think about it like a pressure in an atmosphere that moves something. And same thing with attractive. We usually think about it moving within the confines of, let's say, planets orbiting each other. Or a really strong electromagnet. Boom. You got something attached to it. Particle is going to be very different than that. It's gone. Outward bound pressure? How? Inward bound pressure? What? You can't have that here. That doesn't make sense. Both of those aren't a thing. You're breaking shit down. Where do you break it down into? You have to have pressures happen. Where does the friggin' energy come from? You can't have energy just come from nothing. And it sucks everything else out of it? And sure, you've got this idea of potential land, maybe nothingness somewhere, or so on and so forth, right? But we're nowhere near that. And you don't need to have that to make this work. You have to understand how to let that go. Key operative words there, let that go. You see, letting go is one hell of a freaky experience, let me tell you. It's a destabilization. Where do I go? What do I do? Oh my God, help me. Now, when we say dense, we are not talking about infinite. But at this point, we might as well be, if you think about it. There isn't space. Space has not suddenly happened or appeared. And what is a particle? First off, all of that had to start from a single point. Folks, I don't think you get it yet. And that had to spread out into something. And that has to take energy. Energy, where the hell does it put it? As far as it's concerned, everything in potential and gray hole and non-potential, not existent, but potential land, and even nothingness land, is stupid, hardcore energy dense. It gets worse the deeper you go down. It's not able to go into that. It's infinitely dense by the time you hit nothing. There is no going back that far. You can't do that. So is it a higher plane of dimension? Well, I really hoped so, if I'm gonna be honest. I really worked with that, mathematically speaking, for a long time. I really like string theory. You had no idea. It was saving my butt for a while. Good old Michio Kaku, that guy. Seems real cool, like a nice dude. Honestly, I love the symphony idea and strings and all of it. I could have, and I did, play around with what his math said and how it phrased itself. But it broke down. Dimensional energy planes simply aren't where we're going. It would fall back anyways. And you would see that. And in fact, it wouldn't be able to because we're too dense. So we'd always be radiating outwards. And it's not that I didn't like that idea, which I can get that. Don't worry. That's not why I chose to kind of skip it. I noticed a problem. If it exists, we would literally, in every way, not stay together. There wouldn't be interactions. We would have just passed on to a higher energy dimension. It'd be like going down a drain, just in a different way. And it'd be a lot faster than we are now. And there wouldn't really be much of a reason to interact. They'd all form the most laminar flow you could ever have to do it as quickly and as least resistive as possible. So unfortunately, I couldn't keep it going with it because it had to fucking do something. I mean, I'm already using that to have it freaking even come back here. So, in a different way, not the same kind of thing, but it's similar. So, where does it go? And it's like, it's not dimensions. Sorries. Can't do dimensions no more. Can't do other universes either. Because it's infinitely dense in between them. You got potential land and and all that in stupidly fucking large distance. Always bigger than you think. Infinitely bigger than you think. I know, right? But that also means it's infinitely dense, even if it's nothing really there. Kind of a bullshit way when you think about it, how we spring forth. So, continuing on. The idea of a particle is what we're looking at. Because a particle, if I describe it correctly and you can understand it correctly, will give you the reason why it's a membrane that we are supported by. And that will also give you the reason why we're particles to begin with. And now what's on the other side? Unfortunately, not a higher plane of existence. Wish it was. That's a dimension bullshitty thing. You have to get rid of that again. Shit. Yeah. Time to pee. Sorry. I know, right? Alright, so I had a little bit of a think about that, how to best explain this, because this one's kind of wearing thin. Because I've said, hey, throw out your ideas, throw out this, throw out that, and I had to do it to myself, and I got angry. Then it's like, it's got to be the opposite of nothing. It'll be an infinite wait, what? It's infinite something, and then it's like, whew, but all the energy. It's, well, no, there had to be no energy, right? And it's like, unfortunately, that didn't work either. I know, right? The opposite! Sorry. Doesn't work. The math didn't check out. And it still needs a place, right? And it's like, why? Wait. Because we're only mimicking the idea of conversion here and momentum. There's no such thing as space. So claustrophobic. Yeah. And so it's like, how do I explain this really, really simply? Because conversion, what is conversion? It's the breakdown of something. And it's like, is it deletion? Please tell us it's not deletion. And it's like, it's not deletion. No, it's not. I talked about that. And I didn't really give you reasons. So let's tell you why it's not. Nothingness is truly the absence of pretty much everything. Pretty much but itself. But that implies that it's still something. Which is why it's so fucking dense. It's the very definition of a haha, gotcha, you fuckers. Technicality, which is actually a good one. There are other technicalities that you're going to have to look at later that you'll hate like a motherfucker. Because they suck. And they just keep going and going. But they ain't true immortality, and they are literally always supported by the very fact that there's this one technicality making it all happen for everything. That's why technicalities is a new word in quantum physics. On a technicality. That's why potentials are a new word. Potential land. And non-existence is not nothing, though. It's just not existing. For us. Although kind of not at all. That's why I call it non-existence. And that's also why it's like potential is the only thing it happens to be. It's non-existence, comma, potential. There's a comma. You see the problem? If you don't tell people about the comma, you really think that it's not that. And that's why it's such a hard one. So it's like the very idea of what the fuck even is that? And I'm like, and that's why dimensions also are a real tricky one. Because you have to conceptualize all of that at that level to make us, which we are itty bitty, tiny things. Stupid small. And we're about to hit particles which are even smaller. And so it's like, it's gotta be infinite something with all the non-momentum and energy and something. Right, because we're going back to supersymmetry again to fix our math. To just make it easier. That's what we're going to do. Because that's literally all that is. Supersymmetry in quantum physics is literally a cop-out as hell. First off, it never even described what pressure was or particles or any of that. And in fact, it basically lied. It says, we're going to try and balance the scale here because we literally don't know what the fuck we're doing. Mathematically, observationally, or anything. This is a stopgap until we know at some point it either gets confirmed kind of roughly or really realistically it's dropped. And it's no longer a thing. Real smart people did it, though. Because it's hard. Think about what I just said. Now, I'm getting long-winded. I have not really gotten to particles. We started at particles. It's been almost an hour. We haven't even hit particles, but we're nearly there at the particles. Wow, so close. So close. Yet so far. Right? Because it's a hole, but it's like it's not a hole. And it's worth thinking about it three-dimensionally. You gotta get rid of 3 dimensions. Yeah, I was thinking multiple dimensions for the thing, but it is the same thing. It's not like it went away. But it's not dimension. It's not going to dimension. Correct, it won't. There's no dimensions for it to go into. So there's an outside space. That's a different dimension. It's like a different universe. It's not that. It doesn't delete anything. Nope. Certainly doesn't convert anything but the things it's made out of. So what does it do? Because I thought about it briefly, and one of you did most likely too. It interactively converts with itself. It's a real self-pleaser, let me tell you. You know, that kind of thing? Real full of itself. Ha ha ha! The outward bound pressure you so thought was there. On a technicality, you are kind of correct. It has outward bound pressure. It converts itself. It's effectively kind of the idea of a that's a good way to put this, because that center I'll have to describe in a second, but it's certainly no fields. A better way to put it is it finally lost density. It does do that, yeah. The oscillations cancel themselves out. But not really, they can't do that. It's too dense. So how do they... Wait, what? They can't make particles, because particles are different than you thought. The hell is going on? I was so in bud until that point. Exactly. You see what I'm saying? Real rough stuff to think about. It takes a lot to freaking conceptualize something like that. And you have dimensions and all these other things, and it's really getting rough. So, to put it in another way, the waves don't cancel out. They bounce off of each other in the center. But they're not really bouncing, and they're not really canceling. They're not really dense at all. It converts. That's something that you're going to have to explain to people in a different manner than you might have expected. Conversion for space is different. It's just waves and frequencies and flows that do a little different of a dance. This one's special. I know, right? Shocker. Yeah. Otherwise we wouldn't have had a Big Bang. I get it. You might want me to say what it is. Unfortunately, the answer is not going to be so great. There's no wiggles. There's no stillness. There's no spin. There's no compression. It doesn't go into another dimension. It loses something and it's not deleting it. And it's not going somewhere else. What the hell is it doing? I finally got you to frame your mind around something. Because it's for sure going inwards. For sure interacting those waves in a real self kind of way. That gives it its oscillations. It moves around. It feels like it has mass, and it does, but not really. See, mass is not what you think, and fields aren't what you thought. So you have to remove that. It's a certainty point. Literally, that's all it's doing. It's creating 100% certainty. Absolute certainty wherever it is. That's all it's doing. In one area. It makes it real certain it's there. Finally got you there. Took you a while. The very Heisenberg uncertainty principle was wrong always, every time. You just never understood why. It's Lemke certainty time. It is all directionality, all conceivable motion, all conceivable anything, and non-conceivable non-existence potentials and more. It is really, really there. That's all it does. That's why a particle is a particle. That's why anything is anything. That's exactly what it does. Always. And that's it. Literally. And it expends a great deal of effort to make sure it does exist there real well. And you know what? When it's really, 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 really there, extraordinarily Lemke certain there, what do you know? It acts like it has mass because Newton's, this is quantum Lemke laws now. It's got all this resistive oscillation pressure-y forces going around and vibrating and bangy and move it around this things kind of stuffs, you know. Getting all weird with it because that's exactly what it is. It's very, very weird. I'm not kidding. It shouldn't exist. All my physics says no. Yeah, well, remove it. Yeah, they're all wrong. They're dumb. Sorry. They're not. But they the best they could do with the fucking observations they had. Yeah. Suck it up. You got it wrong. It is Lemke certainty, principle, law, and it's a universal law theory. That's right. I basically walked you over these parts here through universal law theory. The Lemke universal law theory. Not quantum thermodynamics no more. That was something you were all listening to get to the point. Just to describe what the fuck a particle is. It made absolute certain what something is. And in so doing, it cancels the shit out of a lot of shit to do it. It has to. This is the problem with certainty. It makes extraordinarily, incredibly, it's like you're angry just thinking about it. Because it's like, yeah, it removes anything that could be it. Literally. It converts anything at all into what it is. It literally rips it apart and makes sure I'm here. I am certain I am. I am as real as anything, you fuck. And that's what it does. And so doing that, converting and ripping it apart and breaking it down and removing space to do it, because it has to do that, it creates a vacuum, a real vacuum. That's right, a real vacuum is formed. But it can't be there. Who? What? Sorry. Yeah, no, that's where you're wrong again. Vacuums can still exist. It's not the imitation because it's certain and it's definitely there. Sorry. This is certainly a real vacuum, unlike you idiots thinking you have a vacuum. Fucking dummies. This is actual nothing. You think I don't exist inside of it? Ha ha ha! I eat all of you and this nothing to be certain I'm here. And that's how I make myself certain. Says particle. And so space, an infinite amount of space, but it's not really all that's infinite. See what I'm saying? Except it's pretty darn close, isn't it? And sure, it's connected to it, but doesn't necessarily need to be. You see, that's the worst part about particles. Only that's certain. And sure, it's connected technically to that, but it doesn't need to be. It frays inwards, but there's no nothingness, remember? Is what you said. But we're not. You see, that's the problem. It's just vacuum, absence of something, creating movement inward. There's no deletion, I'll tell you that much, and it consumes the shit out of everything, but it doesn't really. Can't do that. Passes through it into the other side and wiggles and jiggles and creates the movement and interactional forces. And it has its idea of a field. Outward bound pressure, inward bound as well, is now outward bound. And the only way it continues to do this is by allowing for a literal, perfect, absolute certainty. That's right. We're almost done. We'll be back after these messages.